Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about two common and often linked functional vision problems, accommodative insufficiency and accommodative infacility. Both of these conditions can make reading, studying, computer work and other close-up tasks difficult, even when a person has perfectly healthy eyes and can read the bottom line of the sight test chart clearly at a distance. It's a sad fact that some children and teens spend years believing they're poor readers, have poor concentration and no stamina when studying, when the real problem is that their focusing system isn't working efficiently. So let's start with the basics. What is accommodation? Accommodation is the fancy name for a process by which the eye changes focus from when we look at something far away to when we look at something close up. Inside each of our eyes is a clear lens surrounded by a ring of smooth or involuntary muscle called the ciliary muscle. Smooth muscle isn't like a muscle in your arm, which is a voluntary muscle and under your direct control. Smooth or involuntary muscle is muscle which should just get on with doing its job in the background. The gut muscles that deal with digestion are a great example of this. You don't have to think about moving food through your digestive system. The muscles just do it automatically. It's the same with the focusing system, or at least it should be. When we look off into the distance, the ciliary muscle should relax automatically, which pulls the lens relatively flat, allowing us to focus on things that are far away. When we look at something close up, the ciliary muscle should contract, which makes the lens thicker and more powerful, and allows us to perform near tasks like reading. But for some of my patients, this system doesn't work as well as it should. They have accommodative insufficiency, which, as the name suggests, means that their accommodation or focusing power is insufficient for the task. It can't generate enough focusing power for near work. A child with accommodative insufficiency may be able to read for a few minutes, but then find that the words become blurry. An adult may find that prolonged computer work causes fatigue, headaches, or loss of concentration. Common symptoms include blurred vision when you're reading, eye strain, headaches, loss of concentration, words appearing to move or go out of focus, needing frequent breaks when studying, and even avoidance of reading or studying altogether. And because the symptoms often appear after sustained effort, many people assume the child simply lacks motivation or concentration. In reality, their visual system is working much harder than it should. Now, I'm going to take a little detour here to talk about presbyopia. Most people know that when we reach a certain age, we start to need reading glasses or varifocals, and this is due to presbyopia, which is a word that rather charmingly translates to old eye. It's the natural age-related reduction in focusing power that occurs because the eye's lens, like the rest of the body, gradually becomes less flexible over time. So, in a sense, presbyopia is a very specific subtype of accommodative insufficiency, but it's not what I'm treating in children and teens. So, now let's move on to accommodative infacility. The word infacility means to have difficulty doing something. In this case, the focusing system has difficulty changing focus quickly and accurately. It can happen in association with accommodative insufficiency, or it can happen on its own, even when there is enough focusing power. Imagine driving a car with a sticky gearbox. The engine may work perfectly, but changing gears is difficult and clunky. You might even get stuck in one gear and not be able to change back at all. That's accommodative infacility. So moving efficiently between distance and near focusing is difficult. So in a classroom, for example, a child may have to copy notes from a whiteboard. They'll be looking up at the board and then down at their exercise book. They should be able to make that focus change almost instantly. But a child with accommodative infacility may need several seconds for the print to become clear when changing focus in either direction, and after a while they might even get stuck and be unable to make anything clear. Common symptoms of accommodative infacility can include intermittent blur, slow focusing, difficulty copying from a whiteboard, losing the place while reading, eye strain, visual fatigue, and quite often real frustration with school or office work. Accommodation and binocular vision are connected, and this is where things become particularly interesting. Focusing or accommodation and eye teaming are not separate problems. They are in fact closely linked. When we look at something close up, let's say a book, two things normally happen. Firstly, accommodation increases so that the text becomes clear. And secondly, convergence increases so that both eyes point accurately at the same place on the page. These two systems are neurologically connected through what we call the accommodative convergence relationship. In simple terms, focusing stimulates convergence and convergence stimulates focusing. Because of this, a problem with one system will affect the other. So, for example, if someone has accommodative insufficiency and struggles to focus at near, they may also generate less accommodative convergence, and as a result, they may struggle to maintain comfortable eye alignment for reading. In some cases, this can contribute to symptoms associated with convergence insufficiency. Similarly, if the accommodative system is unstable, binocular vision may also become unstable. The patient may experience double vision, intermittent blur, loss of their place while reading, reduced reading efficiency, visual fatigue, and headaches. This is one reason why a comprehensive binocular vision assessment is so useful. We evaluate accommodation and convergence together. I would typically measure amplitude of accommodation, so how much focusing power is available, accommodative facility, how efficiently is the patient able to change focus from distance to near and back again over a sustained period, accuracy of focusing, near point of convergence, how close up can they team their eyes, how accurately can they align their eyes over a sustained period, and vergence ranges over sort of what distance can they use their convergence system. So really I'm looking at how well they can do sustained near work. And the goal is not simply to determine whether a patient can see clearly, it's to determine how efficiently their visual system functions during real-world tasks. And remember, the patients with presbyopia, well, sometimes people who have compensated for a mild binocular vision problem for many years only begin to experience symptoms in their late 30s or early 40s, when the onset of presbyopia means that their accommodative reserves start to decline. So, for example, a person with a previously well-controlled convergence weakness may have relied on their accommodation system to help maintain comfortable eye alignment at near. And as their accommodation naturally reduces with age, that extra assistance becomes less available, and symptoms such as eye strain, headaches, intermittent blur, double vision, or difficulty reading may suddenly appear. And in these cases, it can seem as though a new problem has suddenly developed, when in reality, an underlying binocular vision issue has simply been unmasked by the gradual loss of accommodative function. Many patients even say to me, well, I never had a problem before. And they're half right. The binocular vision problem has actually been present for years, but their visual system had enough spare capacity to compensate for it. Only when those reserves began to reduce did the symptoms become noticeable. So, if there is an accommodative problem, how is it treated? Well, treatment depends on the individual patient and the nature of the problem. One option is spectacles. So for accommodative insufficiency, low-powered reading lenses are sometimes all that's needed to reduce the amount of focusing effort required. The glasses effectively provide some assistance to the focusing system, making prolonged near work more comfortable, and I prescribe these for reading, studying, or computer work. But spectacles don't necessarily improve poor focusing skills, they only reduce the demand placed on the system, and they don't usually help with accommodative infacility. In this case, I use vision therapy. I provide structured visual activities designed with the aim of improving the strength, endurance, speed, and flexibility of the accommodation. And often the exercises will work on accommodation and convergence because these two systems, as we said, work together during everyday visual tasks. The precise treatment plan will depend on a patient's symptoms, clinical findings, their age, and their visual demands. And that seems like a good place to leave things today. I hope you found this useful. If you'd like to learn more about vision, please do take a look at my other videos and click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.